Hello and welcome to Deconstructing the Construct, episode 73. Fun times, interesting times, challenging times. Back in 2016, I guess I was given a very broad, general idea, concept, narrative of the reality that we're in, which is that it's a holographic virtual construct matrix, whatever word you prefer, that something went terribly wrong and we've been stuck in here, that there are a group controlling it, that it's essentially been infected with a virus, as have all the inhabitants, and that together, from within the construct and the greater part of us outside the construct, working together in order to bring this to a close. And since then, it's been a journey of filling in the story, discovering more details, attempting to find what's next and prepare for that and navigate this whole journey. And lately I've found that, when I've been doing these DTCs, that I kind of end up having to do another recap of sorts, because the new pieces of information won't make sense in isolation. And unless you've been listening since the very beginning, it doesn't make sense. And that's kind of the case today too. The last time I heard from home was Valentine's Day, February 14. And they said the pull has begun. And they were beginning with the -33 pull. At the time, no idea what that meant. And even now would still be speculating, but based on what's transpired since then, it seems to be playing out in 3D with the exposure of everything that's negative about this place. The virus, those who are heavily infected or purely made up of, and the organizations and structures and infrastructure that make up this place, that they control, is all being exposed. So you've got education, you've got pharmaceutical, Western medicine in general, political, government, media, financial. It's all, to some way, shape or form, being exposed. And what an incestuous, interwoven web it all is. So I guess that's what, for me, that's what was meant by the -33 pull. So going back to give a bit of a broader recap before I get into more of the details. It's my understanding, my belief, knowing, whatever, that this was supposed to end at the end of 2012. But because of the virus, right, because of the control from within, outside this construct had been locked out, and a looping mechanism had been installed. So the way I see it now is that it was a game that had a defined period of time to experience it, and it was counting down to 0. And at 0, game over, everybody out. But that it didn't happen because of this, what I call the 88, the looping. Now, whether it was that final moment, the final second, the final minute, the final hour, the final day, the final year, I don't know. But it was like this final period of time, which only exists in here, was looped. So essentially the game never reached 0, the game never ended. Because of that, and because outside were locked out, and the game didn't come to an end, we had to create a copy. So I look at it as like a game on a hard drive. We had to transfer all the files over onto an uncorrupted hard drive. And 2013 for me was the period of transfer. All the files, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything got transferred over into this now uncorrupted hard drive that allowed for access to the game where it was previously locked out. The thing about this final moment, I'm just going to call it a moment because that is actually what it feels like, even though it could have been a year, but it feels like a final moment just before the clock hit 0. It's hard to explain, but it's like imagine a little, this is the visuals I get are very hard to sometimes put into words. So imagine this little bubble of time. It's a single moment, but it's absolutely packed with infinite possibilities. From the inside of the game, which is the only place where linear time really exists in the way we experience it, we would go through a chosen set of experiences that were part of this infinite number of experiences inside this little moment. From outside the game, it's kind of impossible to read the data contained because for me the visual was like a stack of papers, and every sheet of paper had all the data in regards to a particular event, but they're all stacked on top of one another. So when you're from the outside looking in, you're just looking on this pile and all you're seeing is the top one. So now imagine that you get that pile of paper and you kind of concertina the whole thing out so you can read them all. It's like stretching a moment of time, and it was stretched out over 4 years, 13, 14, 15 and 16. And all the data, all the events were able to be read. This is how future proofs pass, because you can go to that piece of paper over there and read the result and trace it back to the source. That's where that ended, like started. We change that changes. So moved into a copy, that final moment that had just been getting looped and looped and looped and looped, stretched out, all the data read. Now we can see what the future holds. And there we go. And then that's what we went through. 13, 14, 15, and 16, we went through those events. Then it all had to concertina back in again. It's another 4 years, 17, 18, 19, and 20. But it's the same series of events. And even though it's concertinaing back in, we are going backwards through the events, which is, didn't understand why I was saying that since 2016, but now I'm starting to, because we're going backwards through the events, even though we're experiencing it in a linear fashion. That's why 2017 felt like it was 13, 14, 15, and 16 all condensed into 1 year as well, because it's the same themes. It was the same stuff. And I know we're going forwards and backwards at the same time, and it's a single moment that's spread out over 4 years and experienced linearly. And I realize how crazy this is and how difficult it is to explain. But there it is. That's what's come in recently. Plus, I think once we'd gone through the concertinaing and we'd gone through all the events up to the end of 2016, it was expected that we could close it at that point. But we couldn't because number of reasons. And I really am doing my best to verbalize things that are happening simultaneously, multidimensionally, inside and outside the construct, in a single moment experienced linearly. And it's really, really tricky. So why couldn't we have ended it at the end of 2016? Since been told that everything had to come down to a single timeline, and now I feel like I understand why. Whether it's 144 or 144,000, who knows? But the originals or the primaries, those who came in here into this game whole, and like not just an aspect of their consciousness or a tiny little speck or spark here or there, but like fully projected themselves into this construct. It is their energy that runs this place. And when they are a whole, their intention, their heart, their love, their all of that is what manifests and creates in this space. The virus is all about division, and in more ways than I ever suspected, because it divided us, literally chopped us up. We call it fractals or fractalized. Creating realms, creating timelines, creating everything. And everything came from those originals, those primaries. Everything that I've felt for a very long time, that everything that we have perceived, dimensions, angelics, galactics, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever dimensions, it's all inside the construct. And they are all aspects of the originals. So an original, there was a galactic version of them, a Palladian, an Arcturian, a whatever, and a God version, and an angelic version, and this and that. Everything was fractalized out from the original. A lot of those were closed, deleted, whatever, in that first 4-year period from 13 to 16. And those aspects, fractals, were integrated back into the original, the primary. But it wasn't enough. At the end of 2016, we were still too fractalized out. We were still in too many pieces. Our consciousness was still in too many pieces to be pulled and end up whole on the other side. What I believe was realized, and that would have resulted in the greatest mind wipe the universe has ever seen. Right? What was realized is that we needed to become whole again inside the game. All aspects and fractals had to come back to their one, to their original, to their primary. And I think on purpose, those primaries were scattered throughout different timelines and in different realms. You put them all in the one same space and it's too dangerous for the other side, right? So, I mean, there was integrations going on, I believe, that we've all kind of experienced in those first 4 years, but in that 4 years since, 17, 18, 19 and 20, it's been intense with the integrations. We needed to get down to the single timeline with all the primaries on it, having integrated all of those aspects and fractals. And we are getting there. Some of you are already there. Some of you have integrated all of your aspects and fractals. And I do believe that we are currently single timeline, single realm. It's just the remnants that we're pulling in. So what is this merging? What does it look like? How is it experienced? There can be physical symptoms, like that would be of a particular illness or injury or something like that. Might just come out of nowhere. And the common thing is you're convinced you're going to die, but it is completely unbalanced. It's like getting a paper cut or a cold sore and going, that's it, I'm dying, I'm out of here, it's game over for me, this is the end. It's really not that balanced. The chills down to the bone, once it happens, once it's done, once the process is complete, isn't that much fun either, because you're in limbo after that. There's a sense of limbo. There's a sense of there is no past, there is no future, there is just this now moment, because you've reached 0 point and you feel very alone. Not necessarily lonely, but alone. Because whether we know it or not, that sense of connection that we have with others, I think, is a connection to the other aspects of ourselves. And once they're all back in here, you can feel that. At the moment, for me, it feels like lots of little pieces of puzzle pieces in here. It's all solar plexus stuff. And they're slowly but surely locking in. It's taking time. But it's like there's nothing out there anymore. I'm all in here. It's a weird feeling. And it does feel very alone because it's just you and you. There can also be a sense of, and even dreams of, or songs about getting to know you. You feel like a stranger to yourself. You feel like you're getting to know yourself, and it's all coming from within. And some of you will still be having that experience. So that's how that seems to be playing out. And also, once done, you might start getting what we were told we would get, which is our memories returning. Now that's playing out in a lot of different ways. Lucid dreams of being somewhere else with other people, waking up in another place, remembering your relationship to these people and going, oh my God, how could I have forgotten that? I'm so sorry. Like there's a sadness with it. It could be the people that are currently in your this life, and you can feel the relationship between you is different. They might be your spouse here, or your child here, or your parent here, or a friend here, and the flavor of that relationship has changed for you, at least. Because you're starting to remember who they are to you at home, or even if they are anything for you at home. So that seems to be, like I said, things that I've picked up on, things that I'm experiencing, things that others are experiencing about what this integration looks like and how it feels. I've also said, I mean, that we're in the Great Awakening, right? And that the greatest awakening is the one we're doing at home. And veils. I know, the whole New Age thing is, the veil between dimensions. But to me, the biggest, thickest veil is the one between us and the reality that we're actually in. The way this place actually runs, what it is, who runs it, all of it, that's the biggest veil. And the more we are waking up from that, the more that veil is being lifted, the more we are waking up at home as well. The more we are becoming whole again and pulling in these fractals. Now, dates. I know, we hate them. On the 8th of May is for when I personally felt this process starting. I knew I'd hit 0 point, the now moment. I could see the past and feel the past. I could see and feel the future, and I could see and feel them both rolling in. They were like rolling in as carpets, and they're coming to this now moment. On that day, I also got the week starting Friday the 22nd. From the 22nd to the 29th is going to be huge, but I have no idea how or in what way, or whether it's personal or collective, but it feels collective. It also feels like something, and the 25th in particular, in amongst all of that, stands out. Thanks to some other people I know. It feels like something is going to really start on the 22nd, and it's not going to stop. I've been saying things are going to get fast and furious for a while now. Friday the 22nd feels like kickoff for this fast and furious period. Our heads are going to be reeling. There's barely going to be a chance to catch your breath. That kind of feeling. It's going to be one thing after another. If it's political, very probably, but everything also plays out. Everything plays out in 3D, and it plays out on the political global level. It plays out in our personal life too. So that's going to be different. That part's going to be different for all of us. The other thing, in regards to the communication with home, I've had my own deltas with it. Things that they said in 16 and 17 and even 18, I've seen play out 19 and now 20. the two things from Leeloo that always have felt like the most relevant, and I'll put links in the description to the recordings of them, is her poem and her message from May 28. Those are timeless, and those are for the now moment. They were there for the now moment, which we are now moving into. By person, one by one, we are getting into this now moment onto the same timeline. The waiting room that I first felt in, I'm going to say the end of 16, early 17, I'm not sure. That's what this now moment, 0 point, feels and looks like. You're in the waiting room, you're at the gate, you're at the whatever. And holding space, acting like a beacon, a lighthouse. Here's the now moment, head this way. There's been an influx of orbs again. Which is part of a bigger story. Antarctica. Leeloo said from the very get-go that Antarctica was the way home. It was the way out. There was a portal. There was something. We've been told the blue sun is on the other side of Antarctica. It appears that Antarctica is home base. It is where this whole place is projected from. It's a projection, and the projector is in Antarctica. It is the lens. It is the eye. It is the all-seeing eye. And it was controlled by the dark. And they saw everything. And now, good guys control the lens. The good guys control the eye, the all-seeing eye. And they see everything. The dark side are running blind. No idea what to do. And everything they do is seen. As is everything we do. The bigger part of ourselves, the biggest, not the biggest, but the bigger part of ourselves that is projecting into this game is there. I'll post some photos as well of what the sun and sunlight looks like from down there if you haven't seen it before. The way the light refracts. What else? I have a feeling there was more I wanted to say, but I can't remember what it was. So, I guess the biggest thing is be easy on yourself while you're integrating. Every time somebody does become whole in here again, they light up, they hold space, they are a marker. They are a lighthouse. I don't see, I mean, I couldn't see past March anyway, but I don't see or feel time the way I did before. I don't see and feel anything the way I did before. It's all very different. And if you are feeling alone, hopefully that helps as an explanation as to potentially why. The symptoms seem to come and go. The more you can allow the process and not really think you're going to die. So I hope this helps. And the last thing I was told, which came in a few days after the February 24 message from home, was that the next time we heard from home would be to hear from the white dragon. Feel like that's not too far off. If it's more than 2 weeks, I'll be surprised, but we'll see. So that's the other theme in dreams, is the homecoming, the MC getting prepared to announce the beginning of the party, the gatherings, the graduations, the welcome home. That's starting. So hope you're navigating this reasonably well. Bye for now.